Welcome to Break Through the Ordinary podcast. Are you ready to commit to your future self? If you are, sibling duo Marc and Claudine will take you on a journey of self-discovery to unlock your highest potential. Through impactful conversations with entrepreneurs, thought leaders, coaches, and healers, we are here to share practical tools and strategies to generate the life you envision. New episodes drop every Monday.
Hello. We have an amazing guest with us today, Tamrah Barber. She's a happily married wife, mother of 5, business professional, passionate business owner, a transformational coach, teen interventionist, and empowering and motivational speaker. She's an executive coach for Amazon, has 25 years in IT business. In addition, her corporate leadership, she's on a mission to empower youth to be impactful leaders in the world. She is president of Extreme Teen Leaders, an organization she designed from the ground up that provides creative programs to youth in the community that include leadership and personal effectiveness with social and emotional learning skills. She has developed programs and activities for youth for over 20 years, is a cognitive behavioral therapy practitioner. She also is an author, trainer, keynote speaker, and a member of the International Coaching Federation. Welcome, Tamrah. Woo! And much more.
Yes, right?
Powerful woman.
Awesome. And Tamrah, 2 syllables.
Tamrah.
It happens all
Tamrah.
the time.
Yes. What a pleasure to have you here.
It's
it
a
really
pleasure to
is.
be here.
I celebrate you as an extraordinary leader, as a woman, a woman of color, what you've created for teens, and I've had the honor of working with you, so thank you. Thank you very much for being here.
Oh my God,
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. You've been such a blessing to Extreme
Yes.
Teen Leaders. You're an amazing coach and just amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
2 amazing women.
Yes.
Okay, I
You're
like
amazing
this. I'm
women.
surrounded by the yeah. I'm the sidekick
Mark's
over
amazing
here.
Yeah,
too. You know you're amazing.
Yes.
I'm learning.
One of the things that I have never asked you is really what was that influence? What brought you into your purpose? How did you discover that for yourself?
Wow, that's a loaded question. And what I'll say is this. Right out the gate, Claudine. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So what I'll say is early on in my childhood, I was at that time, victim of sexual abuse. And I was sitting in my 5th grade class one day, and the teacher would do this thing where they would define a word every day. And the word that they defined on that particular day was incest. And at that time, I was being abused and didn't even know that it was wrong. I was made to believe that it was like normal. And in that moment, I felt like this dark cloud came over my head, and I retreated back into that cloud, and I experienced shame. I experienced guilt. I experienced, dirtiness. If you think about like a dark cloud is like water and dirt and the atmosphere, like that was what I felt like I shrunk back into. And I made so many choices for my life from that dark cloud. And my results were very dark. And so it wasn't until a good friend of mine, when I was 42 years old, so imagine from 5th grade to 42, making choices from that place of victim, of shame. And at that moment, when a friend of mine introduced me to personal development, I went into that conference, that training, and it literally changed my life. It had me see, first of all, that I wasn't the only one, because when you experience that, you think that it's only you, that no one else has that experience. And so I never shared it with anyone. And the second time I shared it was in that training room. The first time was with my husband, and he gave me a space where I was free and able to just share my heart. And so he was the first person I shared that with. The second time was in this training that I was in, and I realized that I wasn't the only one. There were other people in there that had experienced very similar things. And it gave me an opportunity to distinguish what happens to you versus who you are. And so it allowed me to separate my worth from the events that happened in my life. And I learned so many distinctions in that training and on that journey that literally it transformed my life. And when I left there, I said to myself, where has this been all my life? Like, why am I 42 years old and just being introduced to this? Imagine if I would have known that when I was a teen. My decisions in life would have been so much different. My results would have been so much different. Yes, I made it through. I struggled through. I survived, but I could have been thriving in my life with those tools early on. And in that moment, Les Brown always says, you find your passion in your pain. And that's what it was for me. I found my passion in the pain of my history and decided that any teen that I'm going to be involved with it. At that time, I had 5 kids. I was like the cool mom because I was so protective, not wanting my kids to go to other people's homes and experience what I experienced. So I kept them pretty close, but I allowed other teens to come to our house, and, they had friends that would come over. And in my work with them, I decided that I get to be the one to create this training for them. At the time, there were trainings, but there were only one weekend. And once you've gone on this full journey, that one weekend, transformation, personal development is a lifestyle. It's not a one-time event. So I felt that they needed a full journey to really carry them through and give them those tools, and not only give them the tools, but then give them an opportunity to use those tools in their life with coaching support, with a team. And that's what I've been committed to ever since. And we've had some incredible results. Our teens are doing phenomenally. And it just it's been my passion and my call, and I have totally surrendered to that. And so that is how Extreme Teen Leaders came about.
Amazing.
Thank you. Honestly, I never knew that. So thank you, one, for sharing this story here with our listeners, with Mark and I.
Yeah.
I've heard you, when we talk about victim accountable, we've used kind of a different story.
Yeah.
And wow, what an amazing place. And so I also appreciate, because I think a lot of people can understand that experience of from the darkness and what our results are. Yes, we do our best, but imagine if we're aligned and released from that.
Absolutely.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So
that's okay.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting too. I started studying, I'm in a speaking program with Les Brown, and so I am learning how to share my story powerfully. And one of the things that I discovered, I had posted this whole Amazon, the other topic, this Amazon opportunity, and a cousin of mine who's deeply spiritual, very prophetic, she shared a scripture with me, and it was Exodus 13:21. And it said this. It said, by day the Lord went ahead of them in a pillar of cloud to guide them on their way, and by night in a pillar of fire to give them light, so they could travel by day or night. And what she said to me was, God opens the Red Sea for those following the clouds by day. And for me, that was just really profound, because, in my telling of this story, when I think about the metaphor, a dark cloud, it allowed me to even reframe that thought and have like that dark cloud be, God protecting me actually, and like guiding me on this journey to where I am today. And I see so many blessings out of that whole experience and that whole journey that I'm now able to share with the world. It's just, when she posted that, I was like, whoa, okay, that is a new spin. And it's been a powerful journey,
Oh, you seem pretty guided by something bigger.
Something bigger than me. I'll tell you that.
Sure.
Yeah.
So you're in corporate America. You're inspired to create teen leadership. Can you explain, because we know what it is, can you explain for our listeners what is Extreme Teen Leadership?
Yeah, so Extreme Teen Leaders is a community of teens that really want to take themselves on and step into their highest potential. I truly believe that we all, not just teens, we all have untapped potential. And what we think we can do so much more. And so what Extreme Teen Leaders does is we're pretty extreme, and we give teens we give teens an opportunity to step into their potential. Most times they're very fearful of stepping into their potential. Without the support and guidance and coaching that Extreme Teen Leaders provides, probably most teens wouldn't step into their potential until later on in life. They might tap into it a little bit here and there, but we give them a big opportunity to create what would take years in months.
Yeah, definitely accelerated learning in that
Yeah,
way.
and it's actually based on the foundation of cognitive behavioral therapy. And I didn't know that initially, which is why, again, like this whole gifting of writing this curriculum, I know that there's some divine interaction in this, because I didn't make the connection between that therapy and the actual exercises and programs that we do until after it was written and delivered over a couple of years. And I started studying cognitive behavioral therapy, and I was like, oh my gosh, like this is exactly what I've been doing for years. And I was like, this is it. And I've been able to make that connection. And not only that, but we're also aligned with social and emotional learning. And so Castle has a pretty, I would say, evidence-based framework. And so we're aligned with that, as well as, CBT is what they call it. And so I'm really beginning to walk into that and expand and do as much work as possible to have the biggest impact with our teens and families.
And for our listeners who don't know what CBT is, though, I think it's really one of the most evidence-based out of all of the psychotherapy approaches that we have, right? I think of the triangle, right? We're going to either impact our thoughts, our emotions, our behavior. We shift something in the triangle and we have a new experience, right? I don't know, but is there another way you would explain that?
No, that's it. That's it. Yeah. Looking at behaviors, and it starts in your thoughts. Yeah. And so really I don't focus a whole lot on the past. I focus on the future and what they want to create. What's done is done. There's really not much we can do about that. And I'm not a therapist. And so I don't, dive into the past trauma, but I do give them an opportunity to get clear of it and to move forward powerfully with a reframe of the events that have happened in their life that have been traumatic.
Yes, and I can attest to that. I know. I think the staff have more tears.
The back table.
Yes, yeah, most definitely. I would like you to, if you could elaborate also, what do you think families are gaining from this?
Wow. So just to share some of the results, I've had teens who came into this work because their parents made them come. And
paid them to come.
That, Nikki?
Paid them to show up. Remember that?
Our producer.
Yeah, but once they come, Nikki, they come, they love it and are glad they did. But what has happened is teens have come in, and for example, I had one student leader who had a very tense relationship with her mom. And after she did the full journey, she wrote me a letter thanking me because now her mom is her best friend. And when COVID hit, she created a birthday parade for her mom. And so that's one result. Another result is a student who had, and I've asked permission to share these examples, so I'm not breaking any confidence. I always ask them if it's okay, and they're like, of course. And so I had one student whose mom actually had someone come in, like she was in church, and there was a gentleman that had just come out of prison, and she was wanting to help him out, so she gave him a place to live. And the girls were like totally against it. I mean, they were just like reeling that their mom had brought this stranger into the house. And eventually the mom just gave in and was like, okay, well, I'm going to find him somewhere else to live. And so she found him somewhere else to live, and he ended up committing suicide. And so this teen grew up with that burden of feeling like it was her fault that he had taken his life. And so if you can imagine a teen trying to process that, I mean, it's pretty heavy. And so what we were able to do in that training was give her an opportunity to say what she needed to say to that man. Even, and we had one of our trainers stand in and represent that male, but she was able to get that off her chest, and it opened up a new possibility for her family and her relationship with her mom. And so those are some of the results that we've seen. And I've heard, parent after parent, some of our parents even come and staff after their teens have gone through the training. So we have several mom, daughter, mother, son combinations that will come in and staff together. And they always share how amazing their relationship is now. And I have another very close friend of mine whose son did the training, who's in California with her son now. And their relationship, she tells me, is just so amazing what they're creating together. And the results themselves are amazing. And I could count after count after count share with you the results that families have had. And then there's one day in the training where we bring the parents in and we do 2 processes with the parents and teens. And that in itself is a powerful experience where teens and parents get to come together and share what it's like, as a teen for me now, and what it was like as a parent when I was a teen. And so that sharing and community that gets built in those processes is phenomenal, and it has a lasting impact on the family dynamic.
I'm welling up because I can
So
remember
am I.
that process, and it's still right here.
Yes.
Right. And I am not a parent, I'm not able to, and I've mothered in other ways maternally, but there is something about being able to look in a child's eyes and answer their questions or say to them, and I'm not giving up the process, but my experience is I hear you and I see you.
Yes.
It's like in that moment of connection that gets created in your processes it's a profound experience. And so healing and freeing.
Yes. Yes.
It's
And it opens lines of communication between parent and teen, and then there's another process that we added. We do a minefield process, and the parents get to guide the teens and the teens get to guide the parents blindfolded. And it's profound what they learn about each other and how that shows up in their life day to day. And so they get so many insights from that improve communications and how parent and teen interact on a daily basis.
Yeah. Wow, that very powerful.
Yeah, so you're starting to get into that part of like lessons and distinctions. So can you share some that the teens get to hear and embody on a journey?
Yeah, so I think one of the biggest in discovery, and so it's several trainings back to back. And so in discovery, a couple of the biggest distinctions is understanding facts versus interpretations of facts. And what happens is, as we have these life experiences, we make up stuff, and we add meaning to these events. And I help them see that all events are neutral. And so whatever we've made up and whatever meaning we bring to it, that is what generates our life experience. So when they're able to distinguish between what happened and what I made up happened, when they're able to make that distinction, then they see that they have the power to create their life experience. And so that is one of the most powerful distinctions that they're able to see. And then, I always tell them to, get off their BS, and they always chuckle. And I'm like, no, not that belief system. And so
that's good.
So we give them an opportunity to see how they've shaped their belief systems, which ones are working for them, which ones aren't working for them. And the ones that aren't working for them, how they're on automatic. They don't even think about it anymore. And so they become aware of these knee-jerk reaction judgments, assessments that they make, and it creates their life experience. And I give them tools to learn how to interrupt that And so that's why I call myself the teen interventionist, because I am here to interrupt the BS belief system. And that's another powerful distinction. And the distinction between victim, accountable, and responsible, which is a powerful place for them to distinguish and have choice at standing from their life perspective. And so I give them those three different perspectives. If you stand in a victim perspective, you're going to generate one type of life for yourself. If you stand from an accountable perspective, you'll generate a type of life for yourself. And then there's responsible. You can be responsible for everything in your life. And I explain that to them. Not responsible being like heavy, like, oh my gosh, like I am responsible for you. Not that kind, but ownership, agency type of responsibility, where they feel empowered that they can create their life through every choice that they make. And so those are the key distinctions that we cover in the first training. And we help them get clear of their past. And so we do a catharsis process as well that helps them release all of that. I call them rocks in the backpack. So they get to drop the rocks in the backpack that's been weighing them down over the years. And they come out feeling lighter. They come out with a declaration on who they want to be in the world. And then they go into the second part of the training, which is all about busting through those belief systems in a powerful way and really stepping out of their comfort zone and learning what it feels like to step into their highest potential. And so I won't give it all away, but those are the most powerful in the first two. And then Generation Lead is about taking everything they learned in Discovery and Unleashed and actually setting strategic goals in their lives in multiple domains and multiple life domains, and having a team to support them in having it happen. It's a huge, be your word game. And so if you say you want to accomplish a goal, guess what? You get to accomplish it. Yeah. And so it's an incredible journey. And then the last course I wrote was Teen Life Mastery. And that one is just an incredible experience for them. I think that's the one they love the most, but they've got to get through the first three in order to even arrive. And we always joke when I talk with the ambassadors. Ambassadors are student leaders that have graduated the full program and have completed Teen Life Mastery. And we always talk about, that's an ambassador conversation. We have those deep conscious, conversations. They're like, oh, that's an ambassador conversation. Oh, you're not an ambassador? Yeah, you can't get with us on this level.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
These are distinctions I sit here and I think of every day. I'm doing some form of clearing on my own BS too.
Absolutely.
Right. Because I instill exactly. It may not be as often, but they're there. It's like, okay, got to clear it out. Right. These distinctions you give, you're right. If you give them to them at a young age, they're always in their toolbox.
Always.
It's like I always have access to it, right? And every time.
Yeah, even when they consciously choose not to use them.
But
they know. And I think what it does is it sets a boundary. And they'll go to that boundary. They might put their toe over, but they know. Once you know, you can't pretend that you don't know. I mean, you can, but it's a lot more painful when you know and pretend not to know.
Yeah, I always say, choose your heart.
Yeah.
Right? Being out of integrity is hard. And I'm not saying being in integrity is, but, when you're your word and you live with that, you know when you're stepping out of it.
Absolutely.
There's something mind, body, spirit that just goes, Nyeh.
Exactly. And that is what I love about this work, because it places that in their lives so that they can be like, ooh, no, that doesn't feel right. Like, is this going to work for me? Is this going to move me forward? It's a different conversation.
Yeah.
Just the idea, thinking if I had this as a teenager compared to all the work I had to do as an adult to get there.
I know.
If I had all this as a teenager, I wouldn't have had to do all that work. I would have been way ahead of the game.
I don't even know why parents are like, it should be like mandatory school. Like, it should be mandatory that every teen do this personal development work. Our world would be so much different. So much different.
Yeah.
Better for them too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree.
And they don't teach it in school. Like, you don't learn this in school.
No.
You learn this in the school of hard knocks.
I was just, oh my God, that was exactly, I was like, no, until they hit that wall, and it goes back to you, your pain is from your purpose.
That's right.
I'm sorry, your purpose is from your pain. And I think it's when they get into the pain enough that they're like, oh, I got to do something. And for teens, the vulnerabilities of, we know that, right? Gangs and drugs and, delinquency in school, right? Those results are always available too.
Social pressure, yeah.
It is. It is.
Yeah, and that choice. Yeah.
Always. Always.
Well, it's nice to know. It's nice to know that you do have choice, because sometimes, even at that age, you don't realize. You do have choice.
Yeah.
There's support. There's support here.
Yeah, I think the most enlightening thing for them is they finally get that no choice is a choice too.
Yeah. Right. That default. I felt trapped. No, it was a choice.
I didn't choose that.
Still,
I didn't choose anything. Like, that's a choice.
Yes. Yes. And that still gets adults, right? Yeah. They still want to have some kind of default, like, oh no.
Avoiders. Those are for all our avoiders out there. Yes. We're talking to you, avoiders.
Yes. I know that part of it, again, as you're comfortable to reveal about the program, is this idea of legacy. And I even have to define that distinction first, right? Because it is something we have talked about on the podcast with other people too, about what is legacy for them. But what is the distinction of legacy in the context of this program?
Yeah, legacy for them is every life that you touch along your life journey. Most people think that legacy is this, big thing that you have to do, like you get all together and like do this huge event and boom, that's my legacy. No, your legacy is every life that you impact along the way. And legacy is something that gradually is developed over time. And it's about being in service to humanity. And so one of the key areas of focus, we focus on three areas: leadership, teamwork, and contribution. Actually, it's teamwork, leadership, contribution, TLC. Nice. And on the Generation Lead journey, which is the third module of the training, the first month is all about teamwork. The second month is about leadership, and the third month is about contribution. And so during that 3-month journey, they're creating a legacy out in the world, and they get to create a community service project, and they get to share their vision with the world. They get to be enrolling and learn how to be an influence in the world. And so all of that is about legacy from our perspective. And it's every little thing that you do, every little donation you make, every person you extend your hand to, every kind word you share, and every encouraging word you share. It's all part of your legacy. And a legacy is left day by day.
Having the butterfly effect moment here. Yeah, it's really understand the power of our influence.
That's right. And how that ripples out into the world.
Yeah.
And they do, there's a video that we watch in this type of work. And I think it's called the butterfly effect.
Mm-hmm.
And it's such a powerful video. And it talks about, what is his name? Now I'm like, George Washington Carver. The life of George Washington Carver. It's kind of centered around his life. And it's just a powerful story. And in that story, they get to see how your contribution not only impacts your circle of influence, but it influences generations to come. Mm-hmm. And that's a key insight that they get after they watch that video. We have a conversation around it. And it's always very interesting to see the light bulbs come on and be like, wow, like my life matters, not just to my family, but to my children, my children's children, my children's children's children, and just a ripple effect.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. You have no idea how impactful you can be to everywhere, how it ripples out. You have no idea.
Absolutely. And
one kindness.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I post a lot on social media, and I do that because so many people on back channels share with me how what I post impacts them in a positive way and inspires them. And so for me, like that's part of my legacy, is being an inspiration, being empowering, across the board. Even in the post, I'm very careful about the posts that I put out into the world, because I know that they have the power to inspire people and have them make choices in their lives based on those posts. And so, I get to be aware and conscious of the impact that the smallest things that I do have on humanity. And so I don't take that lightly at all.
I'm glad.
Yeah,
The world needs you.
You're
Needs your
impactful in
impact.
so many ways.
Yes. This shifts in generations, right? It does. It changes generations. I love watching the graduates and seeing, who's in college, who's making a creative choice, maybe in pursuing, their arts, or, who gets a scholarship, what generates, even the challenges that they get to work through. It's and they're not in isolation.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. I had an opportunity to, and I'll share this. One of our students, and Charlie, Charlie, like she's come with me to Florida back and forth.
I know
She's just
college
amazing. And, she's had challenges with mental health early on, which is what really brought her to the program. And, she too wrote me a letter. If she hadn't done this work, she wouldn't be here. And to see her now, I mean, she has just blossomed into this amazing human being. And, she called me. I was in Florida not too long ago, and she called me before she went off to college. And she was like, I want to take you to lunch, my treat. And I'm like, cool, okay. So I literally flew home, got in the car, drove to her, and we had lunch together. And it just to see her beauty and magnificence and the impact that I know that she's going to have. After doing this work, she's totally committed to child psychology and being a gift to young people because of her experience through Extreme Teen Leaders. And like, that's one of the ripple effects. So imagine the lives that she's going to impact, and the lives that she impacts, the lives that they're going to impact, and so on and so on.
Yeah. And the courage, because she's a leader who's also willing to share her story so authentically.
Absolutely.
And out and proud in her way, in her pain, right?
Absolutely.
But like you, is finding that purpose in her life that is become her beacon of light.
Absolutely. She's such a powerful stand for teens. I mean, she's serious. They call her mama. She's the mom. She's the mom at the back table. And she definitely calls her peers out to their highest potential and doesn't hold them small. Like, she's such a powerful staffer. And I'm just so proud of her and what she's accomplishing in her life, and just the person that she has become through doing her own work, which I think is really important, to do your own work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We agree.
Yeah.
They're all right now in a virtual setting, the trainings, right? So there's been live, and even in the virtual setting, you still have the staff. So there's still a container, right, of adults and the teens, the ambassadors, the graduates who still are creating that container then.
Yes. It's been pretty interesting. Initially, I wasn't sure if the virtual was going to work. I just wasn't sure. So I was like, okay, I'll try it. And the main reason was with COVID. If you could imagine student leaders that are in school with thousands of students, and then suddenly it's just them in a room by themselves. You take away their entire social life.
Yeah.
Mental health tanks. And so I knew that we needed to do something to fill that gap. And I think we've come full circle. We'll probably keep some form of online because it's opened it up to international trainings now. But I think, they're just zoomed out. Like right now, they're zoomed out.
Zoom fatigue, it's a whole new diagnosis in the DSM.
Yeah, they're zoomed out. Yeah, we're like, oh my gosh, digital addiction. All right, here we go.
Yeah.
Oh, that's another teen interventionist story.
Yeah.
But I knew that something needed to fill the gap right after COVID up until they went back to school. And so now that they're back to school, we'll probably lighten up the the online, and begin thinking about what in-person will look like probably next summer. We want to see what happens with all these variants and see the results of all the kids being back in school, see how we work through that, see if we can get vaccinations up to a point where we get, what is it called, crowd immunity. I don't think we're there yet. But I think that the online certainly worked. When I did the first one, the teens were like, I asked them, I was like, should I continue this? And they were like, yes, absolutely. We loved it. And so we graduated 2 cohorts.
Wow.
Yeah, we graduated 2 cohorts this year. And this weekend coming up, we're doing a training for some teens, from teens in Nigeria. So this will be the first Nigerian cohort. And so we're still figuring it out. Initially, the first 2 cohorts that we did, the times mirrored the in-person trainings, but I think it's a lot for them to sit that long. And so we've condensed it down to 2 days now and just shorter days. And so we're going to pilot that with our Nigerian teens. And so we've got a discovery that's 2 days, and it's maybe like 8 hours a day with lunch break and breaks, which is a little more manageable for them, we think. So we'll see how that goes.
Great.
Exciting. Congratulations
Yes.
on the international piece too. And I mean, butterfly, that's big wings.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's
yeah.
really
The world,
wonderful.
Yeah, we've done
That's
trainings
wonderful.
in Malaysia as well. We did a Got Vision. We did 2 Got Visions in Malaysia and Singapore, and so we'll do Nigeria, and then we'll probably move to Singapore and do a training there. The hours are a lot more. They're a lot different. It's 12 hours. So I'll be sleep training.
Just watch this video and I'll be back. Yes.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting.
Yeah. They're very interesting.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So we would all love teens to do this training, right? Some kids will, some won't. How can parents start to speak to their kids, not just about the training, but what things can they start to say or that could help, their relationship, the kids' empowerment, all of that?
Yeah, I think it really depends on the relationship that you have with your teen. So the first thing I would say is to get clear with your teen. Like whatever's in the way, I would say clean it up. Whatever's in the way, opening lines of communication, taking a step back and really asking them, what is it that you really want to do with your life? Having that conversation with them, where do you really want to go? Do you feel like you're tapping into your full potential, or is there more? What does that look like? What are your biggest fears? Really having that type of conversation with them. And once you have that conversation, it'll open the door to offering something like this to them as something that they can do for themselves. Some teens, their parents will say, well, I registered you for a training. I want you to do it. And they're like, okay. Then some of them are like, I'm registering you for a training. And they're like, no, I'm not doing that. It just depends on the relationship with the teen. And parents know your teens. So think about the approach, and maybe it's another teen gets to have that conversation with them. Yeah. Or maybe they start off in a coaching relationship with me or one of our staff. There's been a couple of teens that I've coached, and then once I've coached them, then they were open to doing the training, and they've done it. And I think that works. So I think really having a conversation with me to determine, where your relationship is with your teen and what's the best approach, I think would work. And then sometimes, if, a lot of parents don't like to force their teens, but what I normally say is, get them there for day one. For day one, if they get there and they see that, okay, this is different, this is something that I'm interested in exploring, and let them continue. Or if they get there and be like, this is absolutely not for me, then fine, give them the option to choose out. But I would say, come up with some type of negotiation where they at least come for the first day to see for themselves that this is not a lecture. This is not a, sit down and I teach you how to be a leader course.
Mm.
This is
Yeah.
you in action, taking your life on, doing your individual work. And so I think once they realize that, and they realize the potential and what they can create in their lives by learning these tools, it makes it real for them, and it's not just something that my
Mm.
parents want me to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And most of the time they're glad. They the teens that come in that are forced and skeptical, by the end of the training, they're like, thank you so much, Mom. Like, I'm so glad you had me do this. And they'll tell other teens, listen, you need to do this. Like, I know you were forced to be here. I was forced to be here too, but trust me, you want to do this for yourself. It's awesome. It's lit. That's what we say. It's lit.
Yeah, and you're right, they are so honest about it. Yeah, and it really is. You get them in when they're in the door, you do generate that atmosphere, the Tamrah. Like that's also your magic too, and the curriculum's magic.
Yeah.
That really creates that opening for them to experience something new, right? Not what they perceived it's going to be.
Yes, never what they
Once
think.
you break through the BS again.
Yeah, and
Yes.
it's funny because I've had powerful leaders like Vic. Like Vic was already a powerful leader when he came in, and he came in
Yes.
like, I'm already a leader. Like, what am I going to learn? I've done like all these different
Yep.
leadership trainings, and he was like, oh, now I see why they call me leader.
Yeah.
That's what he said to me.
Yeah. Yeah, and he is powerful leader.
Yeah,
It's true.
and for him,
I
and for him, it was learning how to create other powerful leaders. And so when student leaders come in that are already powerful leaders, used to going first, always leading the crowd, they learn that, hey, I'm so powerful that I can create other leaders just as powerful or more powerful than me. And then to see that result is like, whoa, that's my baby,
Yeah. Your North Carolina leaders are, I mean, because Charlie and Vic together, like, oh my gosh, right? They were some of your core original students up there.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you take that conversation one back, because if you could speak into any tools that you'd suggest for parents, because even the topic of communication, right? I'm a therapist for 29 years with families, and there's often times where the parents, meaning the adults, get to have some tools to even initiate a conversation, right? So you say, go have a conversation. And they're like, it's, I tell you, right? It's not a conversation. It's not this you give and you take. I always call conversations dances. Is there any suggestions you would make for parents to create that flow between them? 'Cause sometimes teens are not flowing with them. They're just there, right? I'm here. Or, right, is anything that you would suggest?
For parents, I would suggest the same as for teens, do your work. And a lot of times, okay, so as a mom of 5, I'll share a story with you. I had 3 kids first. And let me tell you, like, I had my curriculum down pat. I kicked out a computer science major, done really well. Another computer science major, done really well. A teacher, done really well. Graduated from high school, went to college, graduated with honors, totally rocked it. And then my 4th child was like, skirt, I'll have none of that. She was the yellow hair, pink hair, blue hair, which inspiration for my pink hair. Tattoos, piercings, cosmetologist, just the artistic side of things. And I, almost was forcing her to go to college and to do it the way that I had set everyone up to follow. And we were just crashing, we were just clashing. And we couldn't communicate because I was like, I wanted her to do it my way. And she was struggling for her independence to do and follow her heart. And so I had to take a step back. And I tell her all the time, like, she really, taught me how to parent in a totally different way. And I ended up learning from her a lot about parenting and not being attached to what I thought should happen and they should be doing, but really giving them the freedom to choose. And so I had to do my own work and take a step back and look at, okay, why am I forcing her to do this? Like, okay, so she gets a piercing. So what? Okay, so she colors her hair a different color. Okay, so what? What is that really in the grand scheme of things? Is that going to, cause disruption in her life? No. And so I found that a lot of the battles that I was having with her were over things that were really about her expressing herself, her own creativity. And so I was actually stamping out her creativity. And when I
Yeah.
let go and just let her, figure it out, I stopped being the rescuer. I stopped being the heir, for victimhood and everything else that was going on. And I totally allowed her to figure it out on her own. And it was painful. There were some areas that were painful. But today, she's 23 years old. She has her own waxing salon. She does waxing, she does hair, she does all types of aesthetics, and she has her own place. And she's 23 and she's totally rocking it. And it's like, I'm sitting here like, okay, all that was just, why was I just so like crazy like that? Controlling. And it was my own controller. It was my controller. And I had to release control and allow her to be the author of her life. And so now I have a 20-year-old who's decided that college is not for him. So I'm like, okay, fine. Well, you'll figure it out. And so he's working with his dad in the family restaurant, and he is figuring it out. He's living his best life. He's having great conversations intellectually and conscious conversations. And yeah, I've learned to let go and trust that I've deposited everything in them that they need to take this journey. And the universe, and for me, God will do the rest. And they'll be okay. They'll figure it out just like I did. I think getting to that point as a parent where you can trust that you've been a good parent, that you've instilled everything that they need, and allowing them to make some mistakes here and there, because I found that you learned your biggest lessons in not even mistakes, right? I use that word loosely because I don't even believe in mistakes. I believe that you make the best choice you can with the information you have in that moment. And it's only after that you find, oh wow, I could have done that differently. And you see a result, and it's either it works or it doesn't work. And you make the adjustment. And so allowing them to experience those not so, spot on results, and shifting, and, figuring out who they get to be to have what they say they want. As a parent, we always want to put our hands in there and meddle and fix it. We want to fix it for them, put the money there, give them everything they need, when really what they need is just to struggle through and figure it out. And we get to be coaches instead of parents and authoritarians over their life.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
I always say, I'm raising my son, and it's like they have their own guidance. They have their own spirit, their own journey. I have no idea what it is. I'm clue. All I can be is best a guide, but the more I surrender and go, you know what? He's guided. He knows where he's going. He has more intelligence than him. He has the same intelligence as we all have.
Absolutely.
And why not let that work?
Isn't that a beautiful place? That is such a beautiful place.
Oh, it's a beautiful place.
And you can just be there and be on this journey with them and be in awe. Like, oh, wow.
He's our producer. I mean, I'm always in awe of him.
Yes.
You know what really brought it home for me, too? The whole story about George Washington Carver. Will, my husband, was writing this book about George Washington Carver. When I found out he left home at 10 years old, and went off on this journey to educate himself and take care of himself. And I'm like, he was 10 years old.
Yeah.
And look what he created.
Look what he created.
And I'm worried about a 20-year-old. Give me a break. Like,
yes. Yes. Yes.
So in that, I was going to ask you, what do you think the biggest thing that's separating families? But do you think it's that control, or parents have this way that they think it needs to be, and that kind of pushes a child down? Do you think that's one of the biggest things, instead of really fostering and guiding their process, their lives.
Yeah. I think the
Would
biggest thing that I've seen, not only in my parenting journey and just hearing from students and hearing from parents in those sessions that we've had, is I think parents underestimate what their teens already know. I think they look at our teens, trying stuff and, making choices that they don't think is good for them. But for teens, they're willing to take that risk. They're at that age, they're risk takers. They'll push the envelope a little further than we would, like them to. And I think we don't acknowledge them for what they already know. Like, that's another thing I learned from my youngest son. Like, I would always want to lecture him. I would always want to like share my wisdom with him. And he would always be like, I know, Mom. Like, Mom, I know. Like, you're making me more stressed because you're telling me what I already know. And so I started just backing off of it and just being available when he came to me for wisdom and insight. Yes, we have to set boundaries. Yes, there may be consequences when you cross certain boundaries. But I would say pick your battles wisely and talk through it with them. This is a new generation where you can't just lay a rule down without giving some context. Like, they want information, like why. When I was growing up, you didn't ask why. You just did what your parents said to do. There was no debate. There was no question. But this is a new generation, and they've got questions. And so,
and they have access to so much information. So it's such a different approach. Like, right, we waited till we learned it in school. Now it's like, hold on.
Yeah.
Well, this says no, Mom.
Well, I have a discussion. He knows more than me.
I know, and it's
he
like
comes out with the facts, and it's like
they're getting their news from TikTok and Facebook, and it's like, listen, anybody can write whatever they want to on these social media platforms. So you really get to do your homework and do your own research. And although someone might post something, you want to make sure that you've done your research and studied, and don't just take everyone's word for it. And I think that gives them another set of great tools, which is researching.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, my son researches everything. That's why I don't stand a chance. It's like he has all he has it all research, and I'm going more on the Facebook things, and oh, somebody said this, and it's like, here's the facts, here's the research. It's like,
and a lot of what we were taught wasn't actually the best advice and guidance, but we've been preaching it like it's the end of all things. Like, this is the way, and they're like, no, I don't think so. There's other ways today. I don't know what decade you grew up in, but we have this now. We have that now. And it's like, okay. Yes, you do. All right.
Just so you know, Nikki smiled through most of that last part of the conversation very broadly, like right here.
We have
Nikki, I got you, Nikki.
We have like a screen on the side, and he's like, ha ha ha.
Yes. This is great. So this is a great time to go to a call to action, right? To a challenge.
My call to action is, Nikki, you get to do this work. You get to come hang out with me. You get to do this thing and like expand your consciousness and really tap into that untapped potential that I know you have, and really go for your life. Like, that's my call to action. Number one.
Wait. Can I just pause you? Yeah. He just typed yes.
Yes?
You did? You'll do it.
You'll do it.
Awesome. You will not regret it. Come in.
Oh, no.
It's an experience, Nick. You'll love it.
Okay. Related to these two, I have no doubt that you will knock this out the park.
Yes.
He'll want to take the whole training over,
Yeah, you'll totally rock it. And
well, what a great call to action, because that's what we're going to speak into. Is the call to action is really the inspiration for our listeners to go to extreme. I just want to get this correct. It's Extreme Leaders.
Team Leader. There it is.
ExtremeTeamLeaders.org.
Team Leaders. It's right on their shirt. TeenLeaders.com.
.com. Our error. I apologize.
Okay.
ExtremeTeamLeaders.com for enrollment.
Still go to our website. I got both of those.
There you go. So you guys both covered. She knows how to work that one. But I want to also ask you, right? What would you like to also co-create as a call to action with our listeners?
Yeah, we're about to do our very first Nigerian cohort. I connected with a woman on Clubhouse, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, like I want to bring this to Africa, to Nigeria. Our teens here so need this." And so she is pioneering this whole enrollment, and because of the what do you call it? The currency, what's the word I'm looking for?
The exchange?
Yes, the currency exchange is so insane that the currency conversion from dollar to the Nigerian currency would make it like totally out of reach for them. And so I've decided to do this training at no cost to them. But as you all know, there's always a cost, right? And so what I'm offering to those that want to support that effort in bringing this to Nigeria, that we are accepting donations to help fund those scholarships. And listen, I'm committed to doing it regardless. And so if you want to co-create with me and you want to partner with me on bringing this work across the world, definitely go to our website. There is a donation tab on our website, and you can donate right there in the notes. Put Nigerian cohort, and all of those funds will go to the expenses that we will incur for that training. It's the first one in Nigeria, and they're excited, super excited. I just did an interview with AO, who is the mom that's bringing it there. And if you want to co-create with me in this way, definitely jump on board. We'd love to partner with anyone interested in doing that.
Okay, and if you accept these call to actions, these challenges, extremeteenleaders.com,
Yes.
and make the donation, enroll your teen, and post on our social media and yours, like at the BTO podcast on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, and let us know. Let us celebrate, the contribution and the butterfly effect that your
donate,
your families are committed
talk
to.
to your teens, go for it.
Yes. Like to do our last section here. We're going to do some quick fire questions.
Okay.
So
they're quick answers, quick fire questions.
Right.
Right.
What does love mean to you? How do you define it?
Ooh, love is love. Love is everything. Love is patience. I mean, I have this whole there's a scripture on love. Like I have it right there. One of my teens in my very first training gave me this art piece. I wish I could show it to you guys. It's stuck on my wall though, that walks through that. And love is the most powerful place that you can live your life. You're either living from love or from fear. And love is love. Loving is what Julie Cotton, she always says. I love that.
Loving.
Yes.
So who was the most influential person in your life?
Ooh, that's a big one. The most influential person in my life. If I were to be honest with you, I would say I would say Jesus. And I say that because during those dark cloud days, it was only my faith that carried me through. I decided to believe biblically what God said, who God said I was versus who I thought I was. And it was that influence that really kept me through that storm. Had it not been for my faith, I don't know if I would have made it through. To be honest with you, I really don't know if I would have made it through. So yeah, Team Jesus.
Amazing teachings and words.
Yes.
Yeah, great teachings. Yeah.
Where do you experience joy? How do you experience it, your embodiment of it?
I experience joy everywhere. I experience joy in nature. I experience joy in the training rooms with these teens. I experience joy with my own children and my family. I believe joy is a way of being, and I choose joy. Again, it goes back. I'm telling you, my two grandmothers, listen, when the church doors opened, I hated it. I despised it growing up. But after I grew up, I understood that they were trying to give me a foundation from which I could grow my own spirituality, which is what I've had the blessing and opportunity to do over the years. And so joy, there's the song that they used to always sing, joy, joy, joy. The world didn't give it, the world can't take it away. Like that was a lyric in a song when those church, you know, growing up in the black
Yeah.
church, it was one of those songs. And so joy is something on the inside. It's like a spring of life that you only get from a spiritual place.
Mm,
Thank
Pretty
you.
divine.
thank you. That is great.
Mm.
How about this one? 2 songs and 2 books that are your like favorites.
2 songs. All right, Nikki. All right, so this is for Nikki. I
Switch it up, yeah.
love rap music, and I love Drake, and I don't know if it's like
Mm.
a song. I guess I'm a hip hopper, so I grew up listening to rap music all of my life, and there are a couple of songs, and I was like a Run DMC fan.
Mm. Wow.
Tougher Than Leather, that whole album, like anything from there. And Eric B and Rakim, this guy and Nas, who anything from
Mm,
Nas and Eric B, probably two of the most profound artists in that industry who I love. I don't know if
mhm.
Nikki listens to rap music or not, but yeah, look him up. Look him up. Nas.
Mm,
Nice.
Yeah. And let's see. Yeah. I don't know, like I don't know. I don't remember like songs.
That's good.
That's
Thank you.
okay. And then 2 books.
2 books. 2 books. The first would be The Untethered Soul.
Oh, Michael
That
Singer.
one.
Oh, yeah.
And The Four Agreements. Oh my gosh, like so simple. It's just like
Okay.
duh. Such an easy read, like duh. Yeah. Four Agreements and
Yeah.
Untethered Soul.
The Galvin.
Ooh.
Yep. Great
Principles to live
books.
by. Yes.
Beautiful books.
Yeah.
Thank you. I thank you for being here. And I just want to ask the last piece. Is there any other things you'd like our listeners, any parted wisdom that you'd like to share?
Wow. I would say do your work. All of
Mhm.
us are on this journey, and if you were gonna work on your health, you wouldn't go to the gym and work out a day, right? You would change your whole lifestyle of eating. You'd incorporate working out into your lifestyle. You'd be more conscious of what you put in your body and how you treat your body. Well, when it comes to personal development, you should take the same approach. As parents, I think we should always be striving to be the best version of ourselves. Be better than you were yesterday. You don't have to take huge leaps and bounds. There'll always be something to work on. But pick one. Just pick one thing. Work on that. Once you got that under control, look at what else can you do? What else can you do? Okay, let's work on this
Hmm.
now. You don't have to do like this whole thing at one time. But be on a journey of self-development and help to raise the consciousness of this world. It's so needed right now. And I think if
Yes.
everybody is doing their work, we'll create a world where people experience joy, where people, develop their own spirituality, whatever that means for them, and are open
Hmm.
to other spiritualities and religions and open to other races and just willing to accept people for who they are. I think that's the kind of world we create when we're all raising our level of consciousness. And like I said, this generation has really leveled us up, and we get to continue that work. I'm so proud of our young people and what they've created over the past couple of years through COVID and through these elections and all the politics. Like what they've created is pretty amazing. And
Hmm.
we get to be that yes you can and we've got your back type of world and make it
Hmm.
better for everyone, everywhere.
Yeah. Oh, right
Mm.
on board with
Yeah.
that.
Tamrah.
Kindness and love.
How can I thank you
Oh,
for the
thank
opportunity to
you.
sit in conversation and connection? Really,
This is so beautiful. I
love it.
love this
Yes,
conversation. You guys are amazing. And,
yes.
I
Thank
love
you.
you
And,
with all my heart.
I love you too. And I will be
It's been.
staffing if Nikki wants me to. I'll
Oh,
step back into the
can
rooms.
I?
Awesome.
Yeah, well, no, you have parent
No,
work to
I know.
do.
I
No,
have to
you
step.
can't.
I have
Nikki, you
work to do
cannot
on
be in
the
the room with
outside. I
you.
know.
So if he asks you, just
Yeah,
say, no,
I know.
Dad.
No,
yes,
I know it's better not
yes,
to
It's
be
better
there.
not to be.
Absolutely.
After he's done the
yeah.
work, then you guys can staff together.
There
Then
you
it's
go.
really cool.
Exactly. Oh
That would
yeah,
be fun.
It's
yeah, it
really
is.
cool.
Yeah, it is.
It's really cool.
Yes.
I've seen parent teen
Mm.
duos staff, like they take the relationship to a whole nother level.
Mm.
If you think your dad
Yeah,
is
they
cool
do.
now, like wait till you get past this.
I don't know if I'm cool, but
Look, unless you're not, Mark, I don't know.
I'm a good dad. But I don't know if I'm cool. I don't know.
I'll find out.
So,
I'll ask Nikki.
yeah, exactly. So again, I want to thank you for being here today and being a contribution to the world and
Thank
for
you.
the legacy you're creating.
Yeah, an amazing contribution. We're not just talking basic. You
Yeah.
are unbelievable. You really are.
Yeah. Yeah.
A very
Make
rare
this world
breed. How
better for
much
all of
you
us.
bring, and how much
Yeah.
your capacity and your width to hold so much and bring so much forth. It's just
It's all source.
inspiring. Yeah.
I'm just a vehicle.
Yeah.
Like surrender and yes.
And yes, yeah.
Great connection.
What a way to end. Source.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Always there,
Source.
24 hours, open 7 days a week.
Yes.
So thank you again. And until we connect, let's just say thank you, everyone, for listening to the Breakthrough the Ordinary podcast. We hope you enjoyed this episode and a deep dive into really leveling up our lives and the butterfly effect with our teens, and enjoyed the wisdom that Tamrah shared with us today to have an extraordinary life. If you'd like to support the podcast, please drop a rating and share on social media. And you can catch our latest episodes by following us at the PTO Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.
Talk to your teens and donate.
And register Nikki.
He'll be there.